Check, check.
Happy last Waltz day.
Check, check. Yeah, that's it. Respect. It is.
I have to first off say that I did not know, in my ignorance as a Canadian, I did not know that last Waltz Day was a national holiday in the United States.
Yeah, thank you to Mark for letting us know.
Yeah.
So for him, we're just doing this one for you, buddy, off the cuff.
We had another album planned, and then I heard it was last Waltz Day, and I told James, well, we should probably do the last Waltz. And just for all of our listeners to know, we're going to do it every day on this day for years to come.
Yeah. Okay.
The same, talk about the last Waltz. You know?
It's the 25th of November, which would have coincided with Thanksgiving, the year that they did it. Because it was recorded on Thanksgiving, because they had that big Thanksgiving dinner.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. And they had a lot of Nova Scotian salmon with that dinner I read today.
Backstage?
No, or in the white room.
At the banquet.
In the green room.
A lot of Nova Scotian
salmon. Yeah, they had some different things there. They had a Cocteau movie on in the green room. They had to decide on a movie to be playing constantly projected in the green room, and Robbie wanted a Cocteau movie. You know, just kind of arty guy, man, hanging around with Scorsese. He wanted everyone to learn something about French cinema.
That's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
that movie.
What was it? 75. They actually recorded it. 75,
maybe 76. Okay. I thought it was a bit.
Well,
later.
think about Dylan.
Yeah, what period was he in?
Planet Waves before Blood on the Tracks.
No, it's post Blood on the Tracks for sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
He does Forever Young.
Yeah, I know, but that's because the band is the band on Planet Waves.
But he's kind of in a Planet Waves vibe. Is he going?
It is. I think it's later. I think he's.
He does I Shall Be Released, which doesn't really mean anything.
It's because he wrote it with the band.
Yeah.
He does kind of a
Basement
sort of
tapes.
He does sort of an homage to his tenure with the group.
Yeah.
Because they also do Baby Let Me Follow You Down, which they did like in the 60s together.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's classic Dylan, isn't it? Because he just starts it. I don't even know if they even knew.
Rules.
He steals the show.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's got a great hat.
He looks really good.
Honestly, he's not in my top 3 performers.
Really?
But he is amazing. He's got a great leather jacket, a nice polka dot. The clothes were very, very influential to me as a young man.
Everyone looks good in that whole movie. The band look extremely good.
Great
leather jackets from Danko and Robbie.
Yeah, they've got suits on.
No, but on stage, but like the backstage
the
kind
backstage
of
stuff.
Yeah, the kind of like the kind of there's not much left we can take from the road.
Yeah.
That era, that look.
Discuss it.
Maybe it's superstitious. We lost a lot of the greats to the road. Hank Williams and
Elvis,
Otis Redding, Janice. He just knows it. Janice,
Otis,
Janice,
Elvis, all the isses.
I think it's Hank Williams, Otis Redding, Janice, Jimmy, Elvis. You know, it's a goddamn impossible way of life.
Our namesake.
Yeah.
Marty?
Yeah.
Just feeling it so hard.
Yeah. The road's taken a lot of great ones. It's a goddamn impossible way of life, Charlie.
No question. No, then Marty's like, and then Marty's like,
no question.
It is, isn't it?
No question.
It is, isn't it?
No question.
No, but I know the women in my life, you know what I mean? You know, people, you got Channing Tatum now. You got these kinds of guys. You got, I don't know.
Shia LaBeouf.
Tom Hardy. I don't know who the heartthrobs are now. Like
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. Is he? Okay, yeah.
Well, he's only 5'7", though, so.
You know, I know the guys
yourself.
now. But I know, for my money, a lot of the women in my life go crazy for Levon's see-through purple shirt. In the last Waltz.
With like it's got a 70s collar, but it's kind of almost like a tux shirt, but like dressed down and purple.
And he's sweating up there, but it kind of makes the shirt look better somehow.
Traditional grip.
Oh yeah, of course.
Really, that was a thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When
yeah.
you saw someone,
First time I saw it,
you're like, okay.
you know
well,
the story. I saw that, and I was learning drums at the time, and I went up to practice my drums, and I just watched it, and then I went and did it, and I spent like a week learning the traditional grip, but I held the stick in my right hand that way, which was really stupid. It was wrong.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again, and I was like, oh no, that's not how you do it. You know, it's 15. And then as a result, now I can play traditional grip, but with my right hand.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see that sometimes. And I
It's
think
kind of an
maybe
innovation. It's
you
sort
could
of like,
put it up on YouTube and as a technique.
well, I'll just make a concert film, but do it that way, and then inspire the younger generation the way Levon did.
Inspired everyone. Can you do Levon?
Well, yeah.
He's kind of more American. No, he's not American. South. How do you do South?
He's got kind of a...
He's down here.
You know, a lot of music came from down there.
Yeah, a lot of music came from down there.
Yeah.
And okay,
Elvis. Who's from around there, Levon? Elvis.
Elvis. Yeah.
Bo Diddley.
Soft, very soft
Johnny
voice.
Cash. And you know, a lot of the blues music would mix with the kind of
You go there 2 or 3 times.
And what would you call that music, Levon? Rock and roll.
This the quote of the movie.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. You go there.
Kind of a melting pot.
You go there 2 or 3 times. It kicks your ass.
Kicks you right in the ass.
You know, once it's healed, you go back. We got an adult portion. Adult dose. Got an adult portion.
That was an adult dose.
There's an adult dose. Whistling. I'm always whistling. That was an adult portion. An adult dose.
Garth, like,
go there.
You know, there's a view that jazz is evil because it comes from evil people. But the preachers on 52nd Street were the jazz musicians. That was the part I was like, took him about 15 years to even know what he was talking about.
Yeah, he's
still not quite sure.
He's not really. He's a real outlier.
Yeah.
Just as a character.
Yeah.
Music teacher, I guess.
He was their music teacher. That's the last Walt. That's what Robbie says anyway, which you have to take everything he says in the film with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You know the story about they were editing? So, like, it was just Robbie Robertson's movie.
Yeah.
And Marty, because they were, like, buddies.
Roommates back in college.
Yeah. And then, so Martin Scorsese had a house with who's the guy? There's a great documentary called American Boy.
Okay.
But a guy named Stephen Prince.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Scorsese documentary. Everybody out there, this is a big-time Impossible Way of Life recommendation. It's like a half-hour doc. All it is this friend of Martin Scorsese's telling stories the whole time on camera. And it's amazing. And he was like an associate producer on The Last Waltz on all of Marty's stuff because they were buddies. Really cool guy. He was Neil Diamond's road manager for years.
Jelvis. The Jewish Elvis. That's what we call Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
Jelvis.
And he told the story that he was like, you know, we were living in a house, Marty and I, and Robbie used to come by every night and edit The Last Waltz, and we just, you know, do drugs and drink and edit they'd be editing in there, and we had this huge house, you know, and every night Robbie would edit, and then he'd go to sleep on the couch in the editing room every single night, and this went on for about 6 months, and then after about 6 months, I went in there at the end of the night and I said, "Hey, Robbie, you know, we got about 12 bedrooms in this place. Do you want to sleep in one?" And he was like, "That'd be great." Thanks. I thought it was just for 6 months he didn't even think about it.
No, he's just so committed to making sure he looked like the best one of all the musicians.
Something like that, yeah.
And he had to get through like some powerful.
That his chest sweat was
looked perfect.
Glistening in the right way.
Yeah, you know, people say it was the most expensive line of cocaine Neil Young ever did, but can you imagine how much that editing on the chest sweat cost for Robbie?
You don't hear enough about that.
You don't hear enough about Robbie.
I'd like to know who. I wonder if Scorsese got his I forget her name, his famous editor, to do the chest sweat editing. Who did like Raging Bull and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Probably was as hard as doing as editing the
the Irishman
restaurant scene in Goodfellas
or the Irishman, just like the CGI in the Irishman.
Yeah, similar. Well, it's kind of CGI, the chest sweat thing, probably.
The Coke thing is for sure.
Well, that definitely was.
I just want to say,
I just like to say before I start that it's one of the great pleasures of my life to be able to be on this stage with these people
guys.
tonight.
Thankfulness to all the band. They're all fellas.
I remember, like, at the time...
Thankfulness to the band. They're all
Thankfulness to the band, all the fellas.
All fellas. All fellas. Fish fry tonight. My house.
I'll tell you.
Thankfulness to the band. They're all fellas. Such a night.
Sweet confusion. Man,
I've seen him. Have you seen him? I seen him play.
No.
Saw him play when I was in Manchester. I went to like Northern College of Music or something. And...
Mac Rebenak.
Mac Rebenak. Yeah, the night. Tripper. I went to see him. Gree Gree Gumbo Ya Ya Mama Roo. And it was just him, like Jackafino, like playing, just Mac Rebenak playing piano. It was like a theater show. Like, you know, like it wasn't
Sick.
No band. He just was like playing standards from like, you know, like Scott Joplin ragtime stuff.
Huh.
It was great.
That sounds amazing.
And it was like an adult thing to do at like 18 with my friend because we'd taken acid so many times and watched Last Waltz. Like, what, Dr. John is, one, alive? You know, just like no idea. And playing. Also, when I moved to Vancouver, I was living down on 4th and McDonald. Well, 6th and McDonald. And one night, I didn't have many friends. Yeah, I'd been here like a year. The fuck? Sorry, Johnny. Johnny's just getting an important call. Do you want me to take it or anything?
No, that's all right.
Want to take that one? Is it cool? Is that your ringtone?
I'll call them back. Yeah.
Oh.
It's called By the Seaside.
Yeah. It had a shanty pirate feel.
Yeah.
So I was living on 6th and McDonald. I didn't really know anyone yet. And I think about that time. It's very strange. I think I was drinking far too much and just staying in, listening to Judy Sill. You know, kind of there. And one night I got home and my roommate at the time, I could hear like giggling from her room, and I assumed she was entertaining someone. As a friend, you know, and this was just, we're all young. I think it was fucking kids. And I didn't think anything of it until I heard as I walked past the room, Dr. John being like the album with the meters, like Such a Night, that record in her room. And I was like, there's no fucking way she's listening to this. So I said like, hey, it's rules, man. Who's playing Dr. John? And so this guy like, yeah, man, I love it. And about 6 months later, I met Malcolm and realized it was him. And he'd been there playing like Dr. John, like hanging out in my place before we became friends.
Oh, that's wicked.
Fucking wicked. Yeah. And who else could it have been?
Yeah.
Like,
well, he is the night tripper of
he
Vancouver.
is of our like scene. He's the Dr. John.
Kind of like how you're the Tom Petty.
Well, only by virtue of the fact that I sometimes put on I don't anymore. I mean, look at a red t-shirt and a velvet blazer. I don't do that so much anymore. I don't know who. I think I'm more like Christopher from The Sopranos now. That's who I am in our scene.
Yeah.
Especially when I wear the Gucci suit jacket with the Adidas
That's
sweats.
just your podcast flavor, though.
I just don't get dressed anymore. You know, and if I do, I only do it waist up. So I'm already taken care of. I got to move. You know, if I make a move, you got to be ready to drop everything.
If I'm coming around that corner, you better be ready.
Oh, and if I make a move.
Yes, but if I make a move, I'm coming around that corner, I see you, I will not hesitate.
Yeah.
You know, when I first saw The Last Waltz, it was at the Cinematheque in Victoria at UVic. It was a movie theater, and a friend of mine was like, you haven't seen this? You know, I was about 18 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't know it. And man, it's funny how scandalized I've been by it since, because at the time I just took everything as just hard facts.
Oh, yeah, hard
I was
truth.
like, this is just a hard documentary.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
hard
exactly
blues.
what the show was like.
And still could be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is all pure honesty, pure truth in rock and roll.
Yeah.
Scorsese has exposed the rock and roll, like...
This is it.
Behind
He's
the
behind,
scenes
he's
of
behind
all
the curtain.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And then, like, slowly the Iron
Turns out
Curtain...
Joni's just behind the curtain singing backgrounds.
Exactly, yeah.
But
and, yeah, I've just been pretty scandalized ever since.
Since finding out
only the fact that by the fact that all the members of the band hate the film.
Yeah.
And Robbie did all of it and probably overdubbed
all his guitar solos.
Yeah.
Well, we were just listening to Ophelia, and
sounded a
little bit like they'd put maybe like an Ocean Way room mod kind of plug-in on to make it sound like he's even in the Fillmore.
But I'll tell you what,
it's not Fillmore, is it? Winterland or something?
Winterland, San Francisco.
What's why is it specifically Winterland?
Well, that was.
No, hang on. And why Winterland? Why
that was
Robbie,
we played.
Why Winterland? Can you just? And then he's like, "Can you just? Can you ask me that again?
Ask me that again.
I think that some of these people,
that
more than friends, they're
that was the first place we played as the band,
and some friends came.
Well, they're
They're not more than friends, honey. More than friends, Robbie.
They're not
Robbie,
friends.
Suck your dick, Robbie.
More than friends.
Can I suck your dick?
Can you ask me that again?
Ask me
Get
that
that fly.
again.
Get that fly.
Get that fly, dude.
There's some of the biggest. We're just doing the movie.
There's some of.
But I'll tell you what.
Some of the biggest.
I was
musical inspirations on our times.
On a whole generation. I was influenced. I started playing Cutthroat right away.
We wanted this to be a celebration. It's not a concert. It's a celebration.
Of the end, the beginning of the beginning of the end of the beginning.
Yeah,
that's it. Cut it.
Yeah,
Marty's like,
cut it. Yeah, I got it.
He's like, that's it.
We got it now, Robbie.
Cold.
We got it now, Robbie.
Well, no, this is where I was going. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. This is why our podcast is like we're jamming. Like,
yeah,
this is like
and we're just off the cuff here. We're doing this.
You just
35 minutes after getting a message saying you should do Last Waltz today. This is if you want to see riffing, this is riffing.
I just feel like you're Herbie Hancock. You just fed me a new key.
Yeah, like a key of Coke.
Yeah. Anyway, I was, at the time I was like, I saw Neil, right?
Yeah.
And I saw him go out and be like, start playing, and the band couldn't follow.
No.
Or they're looking at him weird. And that's why he's like, they got it now, Robbie. Like it's a 3-chord song. Yeah. And in my mind, because I love Neil, I was like, what are these fucking guys doing? Why are they like on Neil's case here? But then now when I watch it, I'm like, they're just afraid that he's not going to be able to fucking play it. Yeah, they're just like, because he looks a little keyed up.
Yeah, well, he is famously.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that was the first time I'd ever seen him move, visually move. And I didn't think that he was just keyed up. I thought it was just, that was his, my innocent self was like, God, he's just so into it. Like people used to be this into it.
Yeah.
I'm reading Team of Rivals, they had a punch bowl of Coke. But I'm reading Team of Rivals right now, which is was made into the Spielberg movie. It's about Abraham Lincoln and the American Civil War, and they're talking about
who's playing Lincoln.
Well, I mean, in the movie, I think Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day reprising his role.
Daniel Day-Lewis plays him, but old Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
But the book.
This is young Lincoln?
No, at the
Daniel
moment.
Day could do it.
He can do anything. If you can stop him, he's a haberdasher.
He's got to gain a little weight?
If you can stop him being a haberdasher or a cobbler, find him in Siena or wherever he is. Sorrento.
He might have to gain a little weight.
You have to go there. Yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah. You just need a line to that cobbler in Sorrento that he's working at. If you can find him, he'll work for you.
He's still lost in his role from Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
He hasn't found his way out of that.
He hasn't found his way out of it.
He's making dresses in somewhere in London.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the book, they talk about speeches that these big politicians used to make. Like in America, it's like the Great Experiment. They make these speeches on, they'd go on carnivals almost, like Lincoln would go, or Seward, big guys at the time who, this is by the time they're abolitionists, and Lincoln was famous for a speech he would, when he decided to finally be like, yeah, slavery is actually really bad, we should stop it, which was kind of later on. There's people who were doing it way before him. He's a really good lawyer, so he was really good at making the case, and people would go, like the whole town, like a village would go to watch these debates, like town hall debates, like kind of.
Okay.
And the fucking speeches, they're like sometimes 8 hours long. Like that was like a normal amount of time for a speech back then. So I'm thinking like when I'm watching the stuff from the 70s, there was just more of a degree of intimacy with regards to your, the art you were making.
Right.
I just thought that Neil was just feeling it so hard.
Of course.
That it's just like,
Well,
that was
he
just,
was,
people
probably, to
just
be
were,
fair.
people were just more in tune with themselves and more innocent back then and more earnest. I mean, I was dressed like a fucking cowboy walking around Manchester.
But like that's kind of true though. Like,
Yeah,
it
maybe.
is. Like Neil was always feeling himself when he's playing music live. Like,
Yeah, but he's literally gurning. I mean,
oh, of course.
they had to get a big rock of cocaine out of his nose.
No, of course, but like
edit it out.
I'm just saying, drugs or not, he's feeling it.
Oh, it's just enhancing the feel.
Yeah.
So it's just double the feel.
And he's like not bad.
He's already feeling it more than you and I could.
Yeah,
And he's got stronger drugs, presumably. So it's
Yeah.
just a double feel.
I'm sure they had the best. I mean, he just, it's like, it's too bad to me because like Neil, you'd expect to kind of be in the top,
Yeah.
but he's not. He's lackluster. Do you want to know my top 3 yet? You haven't asked me.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I just needed to change the batteries in the Zoom recorder because although I think they would have made it through to the end, it's just I feel that I don't want to do anything, take any chances on anything that could impact the audio negatively.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, James, because it's sort of a similar thing to Martin Scorsese with the film cameras in The Last Waltz,
Sure.
like what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. I think he would understand that. And so would a lot of YouTubers who I read about when I was watching, well, I'll get into this later, some speed mixing, analog speed mixing, because a lot of people were concerned about the quality of the audio being encoded too low. So you couldn't really feel and hear.
Sure.
But we'll get into that later.
What I mean,
so I want to talk
what I
about,
mean more,
go.
though, is that
Right.
Marty understands when you're trying to capture live magic
Yeah.
in the way that we are here.
Yes.
Sometimes the equipment doesn't hold up in
True.
the way that ours, we need new batteries and stuff like that. Like when the camera ran out famously when Muddy Waters was about to go on.
Well, I don't believe the cameras ran out there. I think the problem with the Muddy Waters part was that there was a scheduling conflict. And every cameraman was on lunch. And so when they heard Muddy start up, who was there, by the way, quote, to represent blues. Just as Neil Diamond was brought in to represent Tin Pan
I thought that's
Alley.
why Paul Butterfield was there.
No, he was Clapton. I wonder, would they feel really embarrassed? Would you be ashamed if you were Butterfield and Clapton playing in front of Muddy Waters? There's no way Muddy Waters stayed and hung out. He's just like,
Muddy
fuck.
Waters jammed with Clapton, dude.
I know, it's weird. Electric Mud. How about
Yeah.
that record?
Love that record.
Fuck yeah.
But remember those like session? He went over to England
Yeah.
famously.
Yeah. But that's like kind of. He still probably
It's kinda
thinks
like just
Clapton's
trying
a
to make
piece of
money.
shit. Yeah, exactly.
Hates them all.
Hates them all. They
Keith
stole
Relf.
everything.
The Keith Relf
Yeah.
singing along. Fuck you.
Further on up the road, you're gonna.
Anyway, I was gonna say my top 3
Yeah, tell me your top 3. Yeah.
because I care a lot about it. I've thought about this for about 20 years, and I've decided it. Number 1, Dr. John.
All right.
Number 2, Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
And number 3, Van Morrison.
Okay. So it's got to be from the actual live Last Waltz. You can't put
from
the
the
staples in
film.
there.
No, you could put him in there. Sure.
But it's not live. It's like studio.
Just the ones that make me feel the best. I love Joni's song. I think it's beautiful.
I love that record. Hejira is
Yeah.
an amazing record. I think that the Last Waltz made. She's the one who's at the best part of her career in that movie.
Yeah.
So she's peaking.
Everyone else is a little washed
Yeah,
up
and she's
at
just
that
getting
point.
going. Like she's just finished Hissing of Summer Lawns and she's doing Hejira. And she's gonna do like So Courtney Sparks out. She's going to do like Mingus and all that cool jazzy stuff. You know? So I think one of the reasons is she's just actually at a real peak creatively.
She looks good.
She
sounds
looks
good.
Yeah, of course.
She almost has this look about her that she knows that it's kind of a joke. I almost thought that it was. Not almost. I always thought it was really lame from an editing perspective that they do the thing. What about women on the road?
Oh yeah, and then they go
and
to
then
Joni.
they lead into Joni.
Yeah,
I thought that was really sleazy.
Yeah,
really
but it's a sleazy time.
move.
But also, she'd have loved that.
But like, yeah, I know, but like,
she'd have
what?
fucking loved it.
I
man.
guess, but is it like? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, dude, she's an outlier. She fucked them all. I mean, she was completely in control.
Certain,
she was completely in control of what she was doing.
I know she must have been
creatively,
keyed to the nines to come to
physically, spiritually, and psychotically
to decide to be backstage singing along with Neil on that. She was keyed to the nines.
Oh yeah.
Too.
I'm just. Hey, do you mind if I just get a mic?
Just set up a mic.
Set up a mic.
Can we get a mic set up here
right now?
Can we get a mic set up here for Joni?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I can hear you now. Call and answer.
So weird.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
You know about Neil Diamond, right?
Jelvis, yeah. Well, the Dylan thing.
That he walked off and said,
I love that.
Beat that.
Beat that to Bob Dylan.
He also famously backstage said to
Dry
somebody,
your eyes. Sing your song out.
When it's a newborn afternoon.
If you can't recall the singer.
Can't recall the singer.
At least recall the tune.
Come dry your eyes.
Really weird.
He says, I'm only going to do, if you have the record, he says, I'm only going to do one song for you, but I'm going to do it good.
Oh,
That's what he says on the record.
It's so crazy.
And apparently backstage, he said to somebody, he's like, I thought there were going to be some like famous people at this thing.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Fuck yeah. Why didn't they get Carole King, I wonder, if they wanted a Tim Panelli?
Because
connection.
Robbie had just produced a record for Neil Diamond the same year.
Oh.
That's why, with Dry Your Eyes on it. That's why he got him to promote the album.
Yeah. It's a bad song.
Yeah, but that's 100% what he produced the album for Neil.
Robbie Robertson's unanimously, I always thought it was a niche opinion that we have, that he like just kind of his bloated ego and took over, and kind of so much of it is just the movie is actually just driven to make him feel like he's a capable and competent musician in relation to the artists who are on the show, and then also the mastermind of the band. And I was like just kind of watching a couple of videos early, and like that's what all the comments say. They're like, I've got over how much I hate Robbie now, but I can enjoy the movie again. But it's like interesting, like you think about like Danko. You do Danko? Shangri-La Danko?
Well, he says
he's kind of up there.
The thing.
He's really innocent.
Here's Danko. He says, the thing is we've all gotten a bit older, and so have the women. And
haven't they just got younger? Have they stayed the same age or something?
Well, that stays to confuse.
I think he's like.
No, he's saying that we've grown, and so have the women.
Oh yeah.
No, the Shangri-La stuff's my favorite. That's probably my favorite part, because like it's so cinematic and staged that they go into the room where he's and Marty's like
used to be a
like
bordello.
as though
used to be a bordello.
Used to be
I heard
a bordello,
some stories about this.
He's got a bit of Danko's got a little bit of a rasp in his voice like this,
and he's talking about how you can see all the walls are pink and stuff, like because it used to be a whorehouse.
And then he goes in, he says, and Marty says,
"What are you
working on here?" And then no, there's a moment that
it's a clubhouse
before he even as he's saying to the engineer to play it back.
Yeah.
Like the engineer just knows to do. He's like, Bobby, why don't you? And then it comes on.
Yeah.
I want to lay you down beside you. And he's like, he tips his hat and he said, just making music, man. Robbie, yeah.
Scorsese has an orgasm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then you know what the next bit is the Robbie like. It's just music. Music takes you places. Like, and then Scorsese's spiritually and emotionally, and he's like emotionally, spiritually, and psychotically. which is one of my favorite bits.
Great line.
That ends the Shangri-La moment.
Yeah.
That's like comes after it.
Because he's saying that Rick Danko's psychotic for wanting to make a solo record.
Well, he's got something along those lines, like where he's like, this. He's like, it's this.
That's the editing choice. There.
An editing choice there is like, let's make it. Everyone aware that this is like a failing man.
Yeah,
which is how people feel. And I honestly saw.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then with Joni Mitchell, like he's just calling her like a prostitute. Or something.
I saw a guy on YouTube because I watched the Shangri-La like scene because it's one of the better scenes in the movie, better acted scenes in the movie.
It's the acting's phenomenal.
Yeah, and the first comment, the top comment was someone had written surely the deepest moment in cinematic history.
What, are you taking my bit here?
Well, I'm just telling you.
I love it.
That's deepest amazing. Moment in cinematic history.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I can think of a couple deeper. Nick Cage leaving Las Vegas.
That's a weird place to go.
Yeah, they want one. Or, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. Or,
what are these examples?
The end of Magnolia.
It's like all 90s.
Yeah, or what about...
you know what a deep moment is? Speaking of Scorsese.
Yeah.
Deepest moment in one of mine. In Raging Bull, when... he and Pesci haven't spoken.
Sure.
He and his brother for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And then he goes and finds him in that parking garage.
Yeah.
And he tries to make amends with him, and he's all fat.
Yeah.
And then Pesci's like, no, like he kind of gives him a bit of love, but like not enough. And then he just gets in the car.
He doesn't go deep, does he?
Who?
Scorsese.
Of course he goes deep.
No, he doesn't go deep.
Doesn't go deep?
It doesn't go deep.
See, I'm a big Scorsese
Me
fan.
too, but name a moment.
I just did.
Yeah, that bit, but that's
super deep.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
his brother, who he beat the shit out of him because he thought he had sex with his wife.
Yeah, I know.
And then he didn't speak to him for 15 years, and then he goes to try to find him. He's like trying to kiss him and hug him, and he like doesn't want to talk to him. It's heavy as hell, dude.
Found Pesci just like in a B movie, didn't they? He's not even an actor.
At that point?
No, when he started. I think Raging Bull's the first movie.
Yeah, maybe.
In Mean Streets. Is he in Mean Streets?
I don't think he's in Mean
Streets. I think
Streets.
Raging Bull's like his first ever movie.
Yeah.
He was just like a guy. You got to get this guy Joe, you know.
I know what you mean about the deep. You're right. Like, he doesn't go super deep.
That's why they're so easy to watch the movies.
Goodfellas, there's a couple parts that are pretty...
No, there's some like violence.
Heavy.
Just violence towards like women or something.
Well,
There's
no, I
no
don't
like
mean those. I
emotionally heavy moments.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's why they're so watchable.
But that Shangri-La scene is deep.
I think it might be the deepest moment in a Scorsese movie.
Or in cinematic history, perhaps.
If you've only ever seen Scorsese movies, which is most men. That and Tarantino. It's probably deeper than anything.
Tarantino also not a lot of deep.
No, that's why.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get you.
This is so probably within like the scope of like the cinematic history that people like that guy know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some deep.
I don't know.
Casablanca or something?
Yeah, he's never seen Casablanca. That's for sure. No, he's never seen
Marty. Scorsese's
Marty
definitely
has.
never seen Casablanca.
Never seen it. Never seen it. Never seen it. Never seen it. He kind of sounds like Dustin Hoffman in The Rain Man.
He's just very intense. Even if his scenes in his movies lack intensity, he's very intense.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
But what I was trying to say earlier was that when I saw the film, it changed me in many ways. I learned Cutthroat. I started playing Cutthroat. You know, you're 18, you see that shit. Then I'd go to pool halls and I'd be like, I'm just going to play Cutthroat now. And people would say, well, how do you play Cutthroat? And I'd get all excited because I could be like, well, the object is to keep your balls on the table and knock everybody else's off.
Sure. That's great, Danko.
Quick Rick, they used to call him, hey?
Did they? Why? Because he was that good?
No, because Neil said that because he'd show up in his car at things, come in and hang out for like 2 minutes and then leave.
I didn't know that.
He'd come to like a party and like come in and be like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on?" And then 5 minutes later,
Kind of George Costanza
call him Quick
when he
Rick.
tells the joke and leaves.
Yeah.
That style.
Yeah.
Okay, so your big ones are Dr. John number 1, Joni number 2. Who did you say was 3? Van the Man. Yeah, again, like kind of like you kind of have like those picks would be in line with the YouTube guy who's only seen Tarantino and Scorsese movies, because they're not that deep. They're just fun, feel good performances.
I like the Van stuff because he was too drunk to come out. Famously.
Yeah. I mean, he's amazing in it. I would say I think the best performances in that movie are...
I think the energy is what
the best performances in that movie are... The best performer is Levon.
Of course.
Dixie
100%.
Down, Up on Cripple Creek,
Ophelia.
The Wait.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
his
The Wait's a bit
version
different.
of
Ophelia.
No, of The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down is so fucking soulful and emotional. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that's a personal lineage to the Team of Rivals book. I'm sure I'm going to get into Robert E. Lee territory soon in this book. It's coming.
It's like he knew that it was going to be the last time he was ever going to sing it.
Yeah.
It has that feel. But what is up with like the Americana kind of pirate carnival energy the band has?
I think it's to do with the traveling. It's to do with like classic pastoral America,
Right.
Like it is Americana to have like the traveling carnival.
W.S. Walcott
I think-
medicine show.
Yeah, I think it's like that's it. It's like a medicine
King
show.
Harvest.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of pastoral American energy, pilgrim energy, really.
It's pure
Yeah.
pilgrim. You're
No,
right. It's not
the kind
pirate
of
at
the
all.
traveling carnival, the carny
Pure
freak show.
pilgrim.
Yeah, or it might be a place in which the two blend, because you would have probably like curiosities from the Orient. You know, a kind of you could have like maybe like a Chinese like child in a cage or something, or like with 3 legs. You know, those kind of things. Elephants, tigers, curiosities.
I think they're the most pilgrim group of any. I'm going to say
Rootsy.
right now. Yeah.
Real rootsy.
I mean, Robbie loves to write songs. This is the thing, man.
interesting because
I'm not
they're
going to give
all-
Robbie too much shit. I do believe that he deserves some credit. Like, he was the architect of the group. He wrote pretty much all the songs.
But is that true? Or is that what he wants you to believe?
No. It is true. I've run the gambit of the whole thought process of this thing.
Okay.
I hated him for years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you look at it, obviously Richard Manuel is the greatest singer in the group.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Levon,
Levon's great.
surely.
But Richard wrote some amazing songs.
A troubled soul.
We haven't even talked about Richard yet. I mean, Richard's
He's the
guy.
face of the
He's
pod.
the guy.
The guy. The band.
The band.
The band.
He's the guy.
How do you feel about women?
I love him.
Robbie's pissed that he says that.
Yeah, you
in that
just see him
scene, it's
kinda
he's
clutch
like
his shoulder.
buddy. Like this is we're about to go into Joni here, and I've already got my lines.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
about like in my mind.
You didn't
we
say your
haven't-
lines.
Yeah,
That's
you didn't,
what-
yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
You didn't say your lines, Richard. You were meant to talk about. You were meant to say, Robbie's got an interesting take on this.
We were the honkies. We were the crackers. Everybody kind of. And, so but then we just decided to call ourselves The Band.
Really psychotic.
Yeah.
I remember watching that and sort of like watching it because growing up in the part of the world where like this music, and a lot of my friends who listen to this podcast that I grew up with are going to get a kick out of this one because this movie really was like from like 15, 16, got on DVD and we'd go around to my friend's house quite often and just like his parents actually moved away to run like a caravan site or something, so he was far too young, probably 16, to like have like absolutely no discipline. We'd just all do acid and watch The Last Waltz. It'd start this like 11 p.m. and we'd do acid and watch Last Waltz like twice, and we probably did that like 50 times. Like
Yeah.
it never got boring. It was like, let's do it again. And that sort of moment of Richard Manuel's face saying The Band is like sort of scorched somewhere in the synapses of my brain from watching it in that context so many times.
I'll tell you, man, it is a great movie.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you say about it being accurate and all that, Marty made a great film.
He only makes good films.
Yeah, of course. And I'll tell you, like you say about the acid
not
thing,
as good as The Irishman. That's the only one that's better than it.
I don't know what
Even
kind
want to go.
Where are you going with that?
Nowhere. Just saying.
No. In your late night thing, I would say, honestly, the crazy thing is that no other thing have I thrown on more when there's like people here.
Just the cokey kind of crowd.
Like, and you just throw it on at the end of the night just to watch it. Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff. I guess I haven't talked about who my favorite three are.
I've been waiting.
I always thought Van Morrison was the best performance.
Yeah.
I'm not too far off you. I couldn't disagree with you. I do think that that Dylan probably steals the show.
He's good.
I think he steals the show because like you're talking about like the party crowd. Like if you're like revved up, like it's like, and they go on early, right? Like in the movie, it makes sense. Like I guess they probably had to headline it to some extent, but like based on the order of how famous people were, maybe. Yeah. But obviously Neil Diamond's like an aberration. It doesn't need to even be there.
Paul Butterfield, skip it every time.
Yeah,
every time.
But I think Dylan's the best on it. I think Dylan's the best really because he's like the dark lord of music. So
that's
even,
how it
him
comes
just being
across.
in
and
there,
he's the only one who gets 3 songs.
Yeah, and he just and he just feels like
or 2, 3.
Well, everyone does. I Shall Be Released, right? That's great, man. They're having a great time up there. Like Dr. John, like they're all hanging out. Dude, I'd love to look at that again, seeing who's hanging out with who. I remember being like, look at I can't remember now, but it's like, look at Dr. John. Like it's just Dr. John's over there with like Clapton. Or, it's like who's hanging out with who? Who's I'll do a mic with you, but come over here. Like
picking teams in dodgeball.
I'm gonna look it up. Actually,
no, but dude,
a shot of that,
dude. Have you ever seen... Okay, this is... I can't believe we haven't even talked about this. That after, about 4 hours later, they all came out again to have a blues jam.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the footage is there. And do you know who showed up? Steven Stills.
Stills showed up. Oh, I have seen this. I have seen it. Yeah, it's
Stills,
on the document.
Ringo.
I've seen it. Double
all
drums.
All the Cokey party guys.
They showed up later.
And Neil comes out and he and Stills duel again.
I've seen it. Yeah, and it rules. Yeah. Is Stills wearing a football shirt?
No,
he's
wearing
a footballer.
A suit.
He's in a suit era. But and all the fuck. That's
put on a little weight.
That's so true. I haven't seen that because there's a making of
jam.
documentary.
It's a blues jam, and it's horrible. It's what you'd expect when everybody's been partying and they come back out to jam blues. I've been there.
Oh, I've been there.
It's not good.
I've been there. I've been there with you. I'm pretty sure. Fuck, I want to do that. See, that's
Ringo comes out.
Ringo in that period was more of like he would only because Levon's playing with him. I remember.
Yeah, they both are playing.
Double. He's more of at that point. He's more of a double drummer at that point.
Yeah, he is. He needs a Keltner or a Levon.
He needs a Keltner. He needs Thunder and Lightning. He needs to play. He's good at playing. He's kind of like good at playing the backbeat.
There's this great part where Stills comes out on stage. Yeah. It's in the video, and he doesn't have a guitar.
No.
And he does this thing where he like pretends like he's playing guitar. In other words, and he
looking at the road, he
looks around the road, he's pissed.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Right? Yeah. Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Do you know who the fuck I am?"
Yeah.
And then somebody brings him a guitar, and he's like, "Thank you," and he's like, he just starts fucking playing blues.
It's just so sleazy.
It's so bad.
It's racist.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's basically a hate crime.
I think
it's a hate crime.
We should look at like the lineage of like how that happens, because then I think Still starts. Neil
is like, okay, I gotta get out there.
Like intuitively hears Still.
Like, fuck this guy.
Like, I gotta
I'm going
get
out there. I gotta get out and ring him in. Got a whole.
And Neil comes fucking just shreds.
Meanwhile, Levon. I always remember watching that. It's fucking so funny. Remember watching Levon and Ringo, and to my memory, this is a long time ago, very hazy.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that Levon's so good and Ringo's so bad. In my mind, this is like my naive mind.
Yeah.
and yet on stage they're just having a blast, which is how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And actually, of course, they're both great drummers. Ringo's a great drummer.
It's all about friendship.
For those guys.
Yeah.
But actually, it's kind of about rock and roll for Levon. So he's the one who, his chops like are insane on that whole documentary.
Also, I don't know
movie.
Ringo's connection to the band whatsoever.
He's just
George
Ringo.
Harrison had a connection.
Yeah, he
hung out a lot. I think they tried to get George, and he couldn't come or something.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like...
George would have been great, hey? Imagine if George came out and
mid-70s
played
George, let me love you.
Yeah.
Or he could have done like, won't you give me love?
If
give
not
me
for
love,
you.
give me peace on earth.
He would have been so good.
Help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch. Do you know that one? That one's a good one. Give me life, give me love, give me. Is that like early enough?
Trying to touch and reach you with
my soul. Is that
I think
early
that
enough?
was,
Is that
it was
late?
before that.
Yeah, I think you could have done it. You think this is after 75?
I don't know. I think if he'd come out and done like
All Things Must Pass.
something from that,
Yeah.
would have been really
Oh
nice.
Lord.
My Sweet Lord.
Yeah.
Nah, a little
My
too out,
Sweet-
maybe.
No, but that
Wah Wah featuring Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton would have come. Well, all like "Let Me Love You." That's Clapton, isn't it?
Let me show you. Yeah.
But Clapton was so skagged out. That's his first live performance for like 5 years. He'd not been able to do anything because Dwayne Allman died or something. Like he couldn't play anymore.
Yeah,
he was too busy. In Malibu, like he was retreating. He was kind of doing his like.
It got in the way of his drinking.
Well, he was doing his like Mull of Kintyre phase, like where he was like escaping the limelight because he was such a famous blues guitarist that he had to go and like I don't know, like find the soul of music again, like Mick Wood from Mick Jones. Remember Mick Jones sailing down the Amazon, quit the Stones to sail down the Amazon to find
Mick Taylor,
Mick Jones. Free association. Mick Taylor quit the Stones.
There's a
to
amazing
sail down the Amazon to find the soul
of the
blues.
The
Well, of kind of the
blues.
Stillsian blues, which is laced in like white appropriation of Cuban and South American and Central American music.
Right.
Puerto Rico.
Stills.
Because Stills' dad was like in the military, so Stills like grew up on like in like a like an English military based school in Puerto Rico. So he's like Cubanos.
Yeah.
See, I have it in me. It's inside me. It's truth to me.
So you mean like traditional blues, like Stills, Santana,
Kind of a reverse blues.
kind of a reverse blues scale.
Reverse blues.
I wish George had played. I think that I'm like having
What about
a thing now
Macca?
where I'm picturing
Macca
him.
wasn't in. Lennon could have.
No, but I'm picturing George like at the last waltz walking out the
Yeah.
shot, and it looks so good.
Because he's like he's angelic.
He would look so good, and he'd be like, well, thank you for having me.
But it also looks similar to like Concert for Bangladesh. Anyway,
he'd
kind
have
of.
a nice beard, probably. Like
What was his look then? Full long hair,
I think
big
actually
beard.
that's probably what he was. That was when he was in his bad like coke phase himself. Extra texture or whatever.
There's some brutal records.
Ooh. You know when that Living in the Material World
Yeah.
documentary when he's like he can't sing and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad.
He needed someone like with the foresight of Graham Nash at that point in his life to come up to him and say, "Listen, man, you need to stop freebasing.
Take off the mask.
Take off the mask.
Breathe some air.
How the shit are you? How the shit are you?" It's Dennis Hopper and Blue Velvet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How
nice.
the shit are you? I love that line. He's just like so high, and he's just like that's someone asked him, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "How the shit are you?"
Great stuff.
You know, he said in that movie is like there's an interview with Dennis Hopper. It's a David Lynch movie, isn't it? Right? It's like a David Lynch movie.
Sure is.
And there's an interview with Dennis Hopper. It's talking of like outtake mini docs about documentaries, where like Dennis Hopper had like something. My agent sent me the script, to Blue Velvet. I was reading over the script, and he's like, yeah, I was reading the script and I was like, this is me. This is my life. So I'd call my agent back and I got to play this guy. This is my life. This is who I am already.
Do you think that David Crosby got the idea to use
From Blue Velvet?
A gas mask to inhale cocaine from Blue Velvet?
Maybe. I mean, he was, possibly. It's pretty interesting because in that documentary, David Lynch, apparently,
or vice versa, Lynch might have got the idea
from Crosby.
Yeah.
No, because David Lynch is like.
Can you ask Crosby about that on
Yes,
Twitter?
that's a really good idea.
Please.
Well, yeah, David Lynch.
They'll never respond.
I'm going to ask David Crosby on Twitter. Did you get the idea to use a gas mask to do cocaine from Blue Velvet?
Yeah,
from Dennis Hopper, Blue
might.
Velvet. Well, it's like Easy
he might
Rider.
Respond.
It's there is a lineage.
Definitely
Wasn't born to follow. He wrote it for Easy. They would have met. Peter Fonda, they would have all met.
Easy Rider, all that fucking shit.
Yeah, they'd have met. And that is the best thing about. That's the best thing about Blue Velvet is that it's like that's like what actually happened after Altamount. Is like, yeah, now I just like inhale drugs, drive around with Isabella, like just like brutally assaulting Isabella Rossellini while Kyle MacLachlan's in the closet. And this was like used to
and
just
he's
be,
like, wow, it's just me.
Yeah, it used to just be free love. And he's just looking at it, he's just like, oh, yeah, this reminds me of hanging out with David in Laurel Canyon in the 60s. This was a great time. We were protesting Vietnam and everything. We were changing the world. Free love. Yeah.
Great idea for a movie.
It's interesting.
Mr. Lynch.
Blue Velvet, yeah. I mean, it could be. But, David Lynch, he's a really innocent guy, right? Like, he's into, like, TM. He's really into transcendental meditation.
I know.
And, like, this Dennis Edward Hopper, great painter, great American painter,
Mm-hmm.
Famously.
Anthony Hopkins, yeah.
Famously... Edward Hopper famously, kind of his Nighthawks painting famously changed to be Elvis and Monroe, like kind of Boulevard of Broken.
Backdrop.
Yeah, it's all
as per your request.
It's actually my. Did I tell you to do that?
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
I did
good.
it. It's still there.
It's your backdrop.
Yeah,
Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
That's right.
Yeah, the greatest moment.
It could only be made better
lost
if
a lot of people
James
to the road.
Dean had like a gas mask on.
Yeah,
something.
we lost a lot of people to the road. James Dean,
Marilyn
Monroe,
Elvis. Janice.
Oh, is this like
Otis? Beavis?
Butthead? Otis, Beavis, Elvis, Jelvis. Just slipping that in, like it's just like that's just fine. It's like that's what we all call him. So yeah, Dennis Hopper said on the set of Blue Velvet, he said to David Lynch, so what's meant to be, serious question, as because he's in Method, right? Mm-hmm. Even though it's just his own life, he said, what's meant to be in this gas mask? Yeah, and it's like David Lynch is like, I don't know, I just thought it was oxygen. And Dennis Hopper was like, no, if someone was to do it's like how I did this, like the OJ book, if someone was to do this, it would probably be amyl nitrate. That would be what would be in the mask, and David Lynch is like, well, yeah, man, let's go ahead. And I remember this Dennis Hopper in this interview is like, and like looking back now, I mean, obviously if I was to commit those crimes, I would have used amyl nitrate, but it's almost scarier to imagine my character just getting high off oxygen, whilst. So David Lynch's sort of naivety actually created even a more menacing version of myself. Yeah.
But he wasn't willing to just kind of go with that.
No, he wanted to know. He wanted authenticity. He wanted poppers in it.
You know what's crazy is I was reading my Nielsen book about when that Phil Spector was doing amyl nitrates when he was doing the John Lennon rock and roll album. That's what made it so crazy. His paranoia was just through the fucking roof because he was just popping. He discovered them right before the record. Yeah. That's the craziest shit, dude. This
is gonna work really well.
We got to do Pussycats or like Walls and Bridges because that shit is like John showed up to do like a classic oldies
Yeah.
with Phil
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Spector.
yeah.
And like at that time, everybody knew that like they could just like overdub shit and
Yeah.
do stuff. Phil Spector was just like
Nope.
keyed on amyl nitrate and was just like, no, we're just gonna do wall of sound, like have like a 12-piece band in there and just record it like 7 times.
Yeah.
And it was the most wild session. Like it just sounded so bad. Horrible.
It's sort of same era as like Death of a Ladies Man.
Yeah.
Same kind of.
But that record's
it's
good.
amazing.
But that's because Leonard Cohen's classy.
Yeah, it has some.
He wrote proper
weird-
songs for it.
Yeah, it does have some weird.
Whereas
energy.
John's like, he shows up, he's off Yoko.
Yeah, he's
with
not
Mae
he's not been hypnotized for the first time in 5
Yeah,
years.
he's like, great. I can just like drink Brandy Alexander's and get keyed and let
Smash Mae Pendo
Phil do
and
the work.
do the work 'cause he's
And
still good.
That's a big mistake
'Cause
when
Phil's
you give
just got into
control to that guy.
poppers.
Yeah, you give control to that guy. You ever heard that record?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's just a rock and roll. It's the one with him with the cap on.
Out front
Yeah.
of the Cavern Club
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible record.
Yeah.
But then we got to do Pussycats because then he tried his best to make that actually.
It is
good.
funny, like, why
and
was-
Harry fucked that up? But
I wonder if Ringo just went to. I guess like Ringo just probably. I mean, there's lots of people at the Last Waltz that you wouldn't know. It must have been interesting. I wonder if like, I suppose at the time, like he's fine. He's got nothing to prove, so he's just like, I'll just go I'll go to San Francisco. Yeah, I can't do. I can do really fucking harsh scouse really easy.
at that time,
I can do this one.
Ringo,
It sounds like.
are you
But
trying
it's
to do Ringo?
the reason it's so hard is because it's from about 5 minutes. I already sound like that, so it's hard for me to
It's
just.
because I listen to the point, and so I know you.
You
do
know how
Ringo
to do,
like
or
this.
Thomas the Tank Engine,
or Thomas the Tank
Commissioner
Engine. I'll go
Gordon.
up to-
Henry was jealous of
No,
Thomas.
what happened was he flew into San Francisco and he asked his friend, I need to get the best cocaine I can find tonight.
Because
they said, well, it's all been bought for Winterland.
You're very good at it.
And and they said, Ringo, it's all at Winterland. And I said, well, I'll be going around there to.
Ringo was jealous of Thomas the Tank Engine. Ringo was jealous of Stephen Stills was jealous of Neil Young's blues playing. Stephen Stills this is Ringo. Stephen Stills was jealous of not being invited
Stephen
to
was
play.
jealous
it,
of
not being invited to play
Neil's
at
blues
Winterland.
playing, but I thought they were both great
I just was
musicians.
having a nice time up there. With,
I couldn't understand anything they were doing because I'm just a drummer, but I thought they were both great.
best drummer in the world.
They've called me the best drummer in the world, but
I'm not
I
even
don't
the best
know
drummer
what I'm
in the
doing
Beatles.
most of the time.
Coolest guy though. Playboy.
Great drummer.
Yeah, Playboy too. But did he just like get the Amtrak up from like straight? I imagine he's in the Rainbow. It's on the 24th of November, 1975, and he's in the Rainbow.
He's in the Vampires.
Yeah, he's with like Alice Cooper. He's with
Nilsson. Mickey Dolenz.
Mickey Dolenz is there. Maybe what about the bass player of the Beatles, the Klaus Voormann?
Keith Moon.
Keith Moon dead. No, still alive.
No.
Still alive. So they're all just hanging out there, and they just hear they've not stopped partying, and they're like, Thanksgiving doesn't mean much to us. None of us are even American. The only one who is Alice, and he's a fucking vampire. So like literally, he's like he doesn't celebrate this, So they all took the Amtrak, or maybe someone just drove straight through, Tejas and San Bernardino, right up the I-5, kind of like John Huston, Chinatown. That part, they're putting in the LA River, they're putting in the reservoir, where John Huston is like,
yeah.
your mother, I'm your mother, your daughter, your sister, your daughter, that stuff.
Yeah.
And that they're driving up that way, past all those abattoirs, those massive abattoirs, and olive trees and stuff, which is the Chinatown thing. And they're driving through the night, Fear and Loathing style, but they don't go that way. They go to San Francisco. They get there. It's about 7 hours. They wouldn't take the one. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't. Play Misty for Me. If you went that way, you'd have to get into Clint Eastwood, Play Misty for Me. It's kind of world. Big Sur, Henry Miller. But they'd go straight up. They probably just got there in time for the Blues Jam. If they left the Rainbow at like 3 a.m., kind of slept on the way.
What a fucking good time.
Dude, I bet that's what happened.
Imagine
what are they
rolling
doing
there.
there?
It's like, want a jam? Hell yeah.
There's a punch bowl of cocaine back there.
Do a line, dive right in. The crowd's still here.
Yeah, the crowd's they're not going anywhere.
They didn't leave.
No. Why would you?
Why would you leave? As well.
Yeah.
You know that Ringo invented the peace sign?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I'm pretty sure that that's a war thing, but tell me about it.
No, you're wrong. Ringo invented it.
Yeah, okay. Tell me more about it.
Well, he started doing it in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he kept doing it. And now if you follow him on Instagram or anything, you'll see he's constantly doing it.
Yeah.
Because he really wants people to know that he invented it. Kind of like the Vom Cruise, Dylan
Has he
name.
trademarked it?
No, because he believes in peace and love as well. He doesn't believe it should be trademarked.
No, and he was in a band with a couple of people who very famously pretended to believe in peace.
Give peace a chance.
Yeah. I saw a photo of
Power to the people.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a photo of John Lennon today, like holding like the war is over sign as some like Filipino workers are like changing the sheets that he's shit in because he's been lying in that bed for fucking 6 hours. It's unbelievable.
I know.
And he's smiling. He's not smiling in like a peaceful way. He's smiling in a like, I need another hypnotizing, menacing vibe. Like that's his energy.
And
because
nerve.
he's like, look at these fucking idiots all working for me while I'm doing all this bullshit. It's just art, man. It's climbing up that ladder and stuff when he
and the nerve to do that when knowing that your friend Ringo invented the peace sign.
That's weird too. It's also weird that George went and did the whole Indian thing, knowing that and like that he tried to kind of co-opt.
Well, that was part of it. George had done all that. Then he came back, and Ringo had this idea, you know, like he'd seen kind of like...
He'd seen the V for Victory, and he was like, what if we turn it round?
Yours thing.
The V for Victory thing.
Yeah, the V for Victory.
We do it to the crowd.
All that, and then he thought, you know, well, maybe I could do this other way.
If I do reverse blues.
A sort of a reverse of it. Well, no, if it's Ringo, then it's more of a reverse of it, yeah.
George and John were jealous of Ringo for inventing the reverse blues.
You see, the White Album came around, and George and Paul were jealous of Ringo inventing the peace sign.
Who are you being now?
They kicked him out of the group.
Are you the guy who interviewed...
It's the same guy who interviewed Mick.
who's American. But not in our version.
I'm American.
And he's also Saruman as well. He's all...
John and Paul were
jealous of Commissioner Gordon.
Ringo, give me the peace sign.
It's not Commissioner. No, it's not. Why do I keep saying it's the Fat Controller. Henry and Thomas were being once again they're not allowed to call him the Fat Controller anymore. Do you remember the Fat Controller from Thomas the Tank Engine?
Yeah.
He's not called the Fat Controller anymore.
What's he called?
The Controller.
What's he called?
The Controller now.
Yeah.
It's just to be more politically correct. Commissioner Gordon's from Superman, I think.
Batman.
He just let me do that for about 5 minutes. He just showed up in that world. He's just hanging out in Thomas the Tank Engine with Eric Clapton and George Harrison.
Is Clapton in Thomas the Tank Engine?
No, but they are in our version of it that we've just been doing.
George Carlin took over from Ringo, right?
Yeah. It's incredible.
That's amazing. It's like the point. Harry narrated the original on the album, and then he got Dustin Hoffman to do it on the original movie.
Yeah,
and then they did a reissue in the 80s, and Ringo did it.
It's just nice that he went into.
They're all buddy. You know, Dustin Hoffman did it for no money. Harry asked him, and he said, "Sounds like a nice little film. I'll do it for free." And he flew to London and narrated the whole thing for free.
It's really nice.
Salt of the earth, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that guy. He's the real Jewish Elvis.
Yeah. It's kind of like me doing this podcast for free with you.
Yeah, not for much longer, brother. Let me tell you. Not for much longer. This sort of content, people are gonna have to pay for these takes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.